Oh, thank you so much, Glenn, for asking me, and what an honor and privilege it is to be here. My name is Maya. I'm a grateful alcoholic. I'd like to start with a prayer, please. God, I offer myself to Thee, to build with me and do with me as Thou will. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do Thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I will help. Through Your power, Your love, and Your way of life, may I do Your will always. Thank you. Oh, my name's Maya and I'm an alcoholic, and I love this meeting. This is a small meeting and I absolutely love this meeting. I've been here before. Thank you, Glenn, for asking me. Yeah, my name's Maya. I'm an alcoholic. The uh, my sobriety date is the 15th of May 2022, and I am near enough about 2.5 years sober. So I've been with you guys for about 2.5 years, but I've drank alcoholically most of my life. I'm going to be 45 years old this year, and I say that with some regret, because I spent a lot of my life drinking alcoholically. I have a sponsor who has a sponsor, and I come from a great sponsorship line, and these women are absolutely amazing. Um, I couldn't do this without them. I couldn't do this without you guys, and I couldn't do this without a power greater than myself. So yeah, I came to you guys, back to you guys on the 15th of May 2022, and something happened that day. Something that happened that day, and I'd got on my knees, and I'd cried, and I'd said, help. God, if you're out there, help. And there was something different about the word help. It came from right down deep within inside of me. And I felt it and I meant it. I knew that day that I didn't want to drink anymore. I knew that day that I didn't want to die and I didn't want to live and I didn't know how to. I didn't know what to do. Right. So, you know, from a very young age, and we're talking about this hole in my soul, I had that feeling, and it was just the feeling. You couldn't see the hole, no one could see the hole, but I could feel it, and it was, the feelings were so intense. I had low self-worth, low self-esteem. I didn't want to be myself. I didn't want to be my body. I didn't want to be in my skin. I wanted to escape myself, right? And the only way I knew how to escape myself was when I put a drink inside me. And the first time I put a drink inside me, something happened, and it done for me what I couldn't do for myself. It took me away from Maya. And for that moment, I didn't have to be me. I could be anything I wanted to be. I could be tall, I could be sexy, I could talk to people, you know, and I loved it. I loved that out of body experience, and it felt normal. It felt normal, and the problem is that normal feeling was only a temporary fix, because I'd wake up in the morning and I take a gasp and I think, oh my God, like I'm back here again, you know. And I did. I drank alcoholically. I drank alcoholically from a very young age, and I drank to blackout, and I always drank to get drunk. And the problem is with me, when I put a drink inside me, I can't stop. I cannot stop. There is no human power that could stop me or relieve me from this disease, and I come to know it as a disease, as an illness today, and I didn't know that. I didn't know what was wrong with me before I came into these rooms, and by the time I had come into these rooms, how many times had I crossed the line? How many times, my life was like, you see the war scene, and you see the buildings, and you see the carnage, and everything is rubble and everything. My life was like that. I came in a million broken pieces, in a million broken pieces, and it seemed impossible It seemed impossible, and I couldn't bear to sit in that pain, right? I was in so much pain. I was in so much pain, and I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to drink, and I didn't want to die, and I didn't know what to do. And I truly believe, right, that God sends angels in human skin. And the first person he sent was my beautiful first sponsor. And, I remember sitting in the meeting, and she came over to me at the end, and she asked me for my number, and I thought, you're never going to call me. Like, you are never going to call me. Like, why is she going to call me? And she did. And she did. And she was like, she was a walking, talking example of this program, right? But when she started telling me her story, when she told me she'd been in and out of the rooms for 20 years, she'd been in and out of the rooms for 20 years, and she tried everything, and finally, you know, and I remember she used to say to me, there's nothing you can do, tell me that I haven't done myself. And she gave me hope, and she gave me hope. And I came into these rooms. I had no dignity left. I felt like I wanted to rip my skin off. I was raw. I couldn't walk down the street. I couldn't look you in the eye. I'd created all this wreckage in my wake. My drinking took me to a point where I had shut the door, and I had shut the world out. I had shut the world out, and I couldn't cope. I didn't know how to be in this world. I didn't know how to live in this world. I was godless. I was soulless. I didn't know how to love. I didn't know what compassion meant. I didn't know how to have a relationship. I was so full of me, and I was so full of self, and you know, I was filling that hole with a spirit, right? I was filling that hole with a spirit, and my soul was rejecting that spirit. I was filling that hole with alcohol, and my soul was rejecting that, and I caused a lot of harm. I caused a lot of harm, and by the time I came into the rooms, my daughter had been taken away from me, and I tell you, on the 11th of February 2015, she was born, and she was the love of my life. And I promised myself I'd never pick up another drink. I promised myself I'd be the best mum I could be. And she was born premature. She was born at 28 weeks, and she was in the ICU for 2 months. And fear, the fear kept me sober. Every time I went to visit her, every time I went to visit her, and where I'd had surgery, and I still had my wound, right? And I'd get up every morning, and I'd bathe myself, and I'd still have the bandages, and I'd get in the car, and the blood would be seeping through the bandages, and I'd be going to the hospital like, oh my God, God gave me this precious little girl, and all I had to do was get in the car and drive, and it was like, I think it was about a 2 hour drive to the hospital. The hospital they actually took me to, in the emergency, was a specialist neonatal care unit. And yeah, I used to drive there every day, and fear kept me sober. Fear kept me sober, until I think she must have been about 6 months old. And one day I had that bright idea, that lurking notion that maybe one day, maybe one drink, I could just have that one glass of wine. And it was at about 6 months. She was about 6 months old, and I took that drink, and I couldn't stop. And it went from a glass of wine to bottles of vodka I was hiding I was hiding bottles of vodka in her cot. I was hiding it, concealing it all around the house, you know. Um, I would at that point, I think in that point in my drinking, I would have done anything for a drink, and I was leaving her by herself, and I was going out to buy alcohol in the middle of the night, you know. Um, I was oh my God, so far away from reality, so disconnected from God, and I couldn't see it. And I could not see it. I could not see what I was doing to this little girl. And I gave her away, right? I gave her away. And I fought for her. I fought for her for 7 years. I fought to keep her. And on the 15th of May, I just gave up. And I said to her dad, I said, you can take her. You can take her. And there was no fighting. There was no police. There was no child services. You know, it was just me and him. And he came in and he packed her stuff and he took her, and I let him take her, you know, because I knew that I wasn't what she needed. I was not what she needed. And when I came into these rooms and I started learning about what was wrong with me, because I needed to know what was wrong with me. I needed to know why I couldn't drink like my sister. I needed to know why I couldn't drink like the rest. I needed to know why I couldn't go out on a Friday night and get and have a couple of drinks in the bar and post pictures on Instagram. Look at me, I'm having a great time. And come home and get up the next day and go to work. Why can't I do that? I need to know why. Why is it they can have a drink and leave it alone and I can't? And I needed to know why. Because I so badly didn't want to be an alcoholic. I didn't want to say I was an alcoholic, and I didn't want to be like you guys, and I didn't want to be in a room and drink coffee. I didn't want it. I wanted to go back to that life, the party girl, you know. I wanted to go back to the party girl, the girl that used to fly all around Europe. You know, I used to go on holidays, and I used to um I used to fly all over Europe, and I think you guys call it a spring break. Well, in the summer we fly from island to island, and we get drunk, and we drink until we drop, and sometimes we don't sleep at night, and we get up in the morning and we go to the beach and we sleep on the beach all day, you know. And I wanted to go back to that so badly, but then I crossed that invisible line. Across that invisible line, and time again I tried to go back, and I tried to control it. I try I tried so badly to control and manage my life. It's going to be different this time, you know. And every single relapse just got worse and worse and worse. So I come to know it as an illness, right? And that it centers in my mind. And this amazing lady that came my way, you know, just by listening to her story and the identification. When one alcoholic talks to another alcoholic and they identify, and something magic happens, and am I convinced? Because this time round I was convinced. I was convinced. I didn't want to go back out there. I didn't want to pick up another drink. I didn't want to die. And I said, oh my God, God, if you're going to take me, don't take me right now. Don't take me right now. I wanted a chance. I wanted a chance to make things right, you know, make right the wrongs, and try to get my life back, sorry, 1 second. Sorry, 1 second, you guys. I'm just gonna see my daughter. 1 second. I'm so sorry, guys. This is my daughter. Yeah. So I I so badly just wanted what was on offer, you know, and I saw a walking demonstration of what this program had to offer, and I wanted it really badly, and I just knew that I opened that book, and I started to read Bill's story, and I started to identify with Bill, because I thought like Bill, and I acted like Bill, and I thought I was better than everybody else, and I thought that I was grandiose, and I thought that I was all these things, right? I loved the applause. I loved people telling me how great I was, and I was just so proud, and I thought, yep, that is me. That is me, and it was hard. It was really, really hard getting sober for the first few months, and finally the veil coming off, and starting to look into the mirror and starting to look at myself, because I hated looking at myself. And it took me a long, long time to be able to look at myself again, and I started looking in the mirror, and I didn't like what I saw, and I was still full of anger and resentment and hate, and there was all that stuff boiling up inside of me. And I started working the steps, and I started praying, and I think it wasn't until they say there's praying and there's earnestly praying, right? And there was the day when I came home from a meeting, and I found my daughter in this room, and she had smashed up the whole room, and she was crying, and she was screaming on the floor, and I didn't know what to do. And it wasn't until that day when I got on the floor and I got on my knees and I held her in my arms and I just prayed, and I felt this overwhelming peace come over me, and something just said to me, that inner voice just said to me, just hold her, just hold her. She needs to heal, just hold her. And I sat there with her and I just let her be, and I started finding that I was relying less and less on calling my sponsor every time I had a problem, and more, on praying first, praying and seeking for this power. And things were just getting easier and easier, and what used to be my triggers, they weren't my triggers anymore. And I came to step 3, and you guys, I thought that it was just the alcohol that I was surrendering. It was just the alcohol that I was surrendering. I didn't realize that I had to stop controlling and managing all my life. you know um so I stopped drinking, and life was happening, and things between you know me and my daughter's dad were getting really, really nasty, and it was hard, and he was my biggest trigger. And I was finding that I wasn't reacting so much, and I was calm, and I think at about 6 months sober, um I had to intervene when he got a belt, and my daughter was in the room, and he hurt her, and I had to intervene. And that day, oh my God, I did not even think about picking up a drink. And that's how I knew that there was something greater than me. There was something in my life that was working for me, because I don't do that. First sign of trouble, I pick up a drink and I drink and I drink and I drink until I can't drink anymore. And once I put one inside me, I can't stop. And that day, something happened, and I became to rely more and more on this power that you guys talk about, and this power that led me to God, because I can't do this on my own, right? I can't do this on my own. I need you guys. I cannot get sober on my own. I need to take my medicine every single day. I hear some of the speakers say, it's a disease of perception, and the disease centers in my mind, and it's how I look at the world, and it's so true. Because even though I had this power in my life, you see, my thinking and my perception of the world was still, I was still crazy. I was still so crazy. And it wasn't until I did my step 4 and I started looking at myself. And my part in the wreckage that I caused. And most of the times I was throwing those grenades. Most of the time I was throwing those grenades and they were retaliating. I remember sitting down with my sponsor, and only recently I did a step 5, and she man, we looked at I wasn't capable of being compassionate. I wasn't capable of seeing the other person, right? All I could see was myself. And the only way I can describe it is like if I'm sitting in traffic and there's a lot of traffic, and I'm going crazy, right? Because I need to get somewhere. I need to be this place, this right now, right here, right now, and on time. And my car is not moving, and I'm sitting in traffic, and I am going crazy. But there's a chopper above me. There's a chopper that's circling in the sky. Yeah. The traffic has stopped for a reason. There's an accident further down, and there's casualties, and there's carnage, and I can't see the bigger picture. I can't see myself, and through working these steps, and it's not easy, and I'm starting to now slowly see that, what, there's a my part. There's a my part, and hang on a second, I've thrown some grenades, and these people have retaliated. Um, character defects, man, character defects. I can still be so self-seeking. I can still be so self-seeking when I looked at these character defects and I thought, oh my God, oh my God. And it wasn't, for me, it wasn't a case of looking at my defects and saying a prayer and God remove these defects of character. Like, these defects had become a learnt behavior for me. This is all learnt behavior. It's like my mind is programmed, my mind is trained. I automatically wake up in self. This morning, my daughter woke up and she was in so much pain, right? And that's why I had to stop there for a minute, because she's not feeling very well today. And she woke up this morning at 5:30 in the morning, and she was crying, and she was kneeled over in pain, and I've never seen her like that before, and she was asking me to phone an ambulance, and she never does that. And my first initial thought was, it's 5:30 in the morning. It's 5:30 in the morning. You want me to call an ambulance at 5:30 in the morning? Do you know, I sat there with her, and I sat there and I didn't know what to do, and I prayed, and then I just had this thought that, you know what, just take her to the bathroom. Just take her to the bathroom. And she sat in the bathroom, and she sat on the toilet, and I don't know why, but I just got on my knees and I started praying, and I just left her there, and I gave her some medicine, and within like a couple of minutes she was okay. But do you see the character defects though? Do you see how automatically I'm in self? Because she is nearly dying in pain, and I'm thinking about how she's ruining my morning. They don't just go away. They don't just go away. I had to look at my character defects, and these are the things that I have to hand over on a daily basis. You know, remove me remove me from selfish, self-seeking, dishonest ways. Man, it's so easy to creep back into self, and that's why I have to surrender every morning on a daily basis, and it's not easy, and I think at that point when I had to make amends, and I think the hardest amends was my brother, right? The hardest amends was my brother, and I was so badly behaved. I was a really disgusting drunk. I was very abusive. I was very vile. I was all the stuff that they describe in the book. Dangerously antisocial, dangerously drunk, and all those things. And I was so abusive to him. He's got an autistic daughter, and I remember saying something about her while I was intoxicated, and I remember him pinning me up against the wall, and he had his hands around my throat. I mean, this is what my drinking was like, right? And that moment when he did that to me, oh my God, I hated him. He tried to kill me. He tried to kill me. How could he do that to me? But what did I do? My niece, who I would die for, I would do anything for, my beautiful autistic niece. I said the most cruel things about her while intoxicated. And that was my hardest amends to one of my brothers, right? And do you know how God shows up in my life today? I'm going on holiday next week. I'm going on holiday next week. And the same brother is paying for me and my daughter to go on holiday. He's booked our flights, he's booked our hotel, he's done everything. The same brother. And I remember picking up the phone to my sponsor, and I told her, and I said, "Oh my," and I was crying because this is what this program's given me. Because I'm not godless anymore. I'm not soulless anymore. This program teaches me love. It teaches me compassion. Teaches me tolerance. Teaches me patience. And they see these things, right? My family, they see these things in me. They see these things in me. And I phoned her and I said, you know what? This is what he's just done. All because my daughter said to my niece, oh, I want to come. I want to go on holiday with you guys. And he booked the flights. He booked the flights. And I said, how did you have my details? He said, well, I do know when you were born. I do know your birthday. This program has given me a life beyond my wildest dreams. Made the amends, and it wasn't all said and done. Then I was told that I need to watch myself on a daily basis. I have to watch myself. And man, I've been badly behaved in sobriety, and I've shown up, and I've shown up, and I have retaliated, and I've responded in ways that I shouldn't have done, but we strive for progress and not perfection. And I was just listening to Mildred, and we were talking about she was talking about the third dimension, and how we strive to live in the spiritual world and live in the spiritual realm, and we try to better ourselves every day. And I never stopped learning about myself, and it's like I said, I have compassion today. I have compassion today, and I have a friend at the moment who she's not well. She's sick, and I've tried so much to help her, and I've had to just cut her loose after months and months and months and months of trying to help her. And it got to a point where I remember that point. I couldn't see myself, and everyone else was the problem, right? And the relationship was causing me pain, emotional pain, and it was hurting me. And I'm not a kind of person that's going to cut anyone off. I'm still going to be there for her. I will still be there for her. But I put boundaries in place now. I put boundaries in place, and it's only because of this fellowship, Alcoholics Anonymous, that I learned these things from you guys, And no matter what she said to me, no matter what she's done to me, and she said some hurtful things in front of a lot of people. But you know what? I remember a friend once saying to me, we're all in the ER. We're all sitting in the ER. And some of us are just sicker than others, and some of us are having a worse day than the other one, and we're all just sick. Because that's what it comes down to. We're all just sick, and I'm finding a lot of compassion these days. I'm finding a lot of compassion these days, and it just comes. And sometimes it comes when I don't want it to come, right? Sometimes I want to be angry. Like, I really want to be angry, and I really want to tell you how you've hurt me, but I don't know. I feel the presence of God in my life, and I came into the rooms, and I thought I knew what I wanted, right? I thought I knew that everything I lost, I wanted it back. But that's just not how it works. I don't get to choose. I don't get to choose which parts of that broken life I want back. I trust in my higher power, trust in God today to know what is good for me and what's not good for me. And I believe that by seeking his will on a daily basis, and this is what I'm really, really working towards, seeking God's will for me. And God's will for me means things are peaceful and they're calm and they just flow. And I don't have to put any effort into anything. my life has changed so much these past couple of months, and my life is going into directions that are just amazing. I'm really happy at the moment. I've got my daughter back, and we're here together, and we do crazy stuff, and we do girly stuff, and we had movie night last night, and we were watching Enola part 1 and 2, and just little things like that. It was a new experience. It was a new experience to sit on the sofa late at night with my 9-year-old daughter watching a movie of Enola Holmes, Sherlock Holmes, and I was like, "Thank you." I said to her, "Thank you," because I would never have watched that movie. But it was so good. It was so good. And I get to experience life. I get to experience God in my life today, and oh my God, God just shows up. But I also know that when God doesn't show up, it's not on, my time, and God's time is not in sync. He knows when is the time for me, you know, to shine bright like a diamond, and when is the time for me to just hold my seat and just sit down. And it's it's the best way to live, just waking up and not having any expectations, and knowing that anything can happen. I didn't know a few months ago that I'd be going on holiday. I'd be going away next week, and I'd have an apartment on the beach, and it's I just can't. I just can't. I'm a single mum, and I love being by myself. I was a very codependent partner, and I was very, very needy, and I'm not like that anymore. I don't need anyone to validate me, you know. I don't need anyone to validate me, and I put God first. I put God first. And God, I can't be this way unless I'm totally honest with myself. And to live this way of life, I need to be totally honest with myself, you know? Um, this is the best thing I've ever done. It's the best thing I've ever done. Um, I came into these rooms, and honestly, you guys, I didn't know that this program was going to lead me to this infinite power, this power that I could just plug into, and it's free. I don't have to pay for it. I don't get a bill every month to pay for this for this power. I could just plug into this power, and I came into when I came into these rooms, my life was like a jigsaw, right? My life was like a jigsaw, and I started putting the pieces together, and then there were times when I just get frustrated, and I couldn't work out what I was doing, and I'd have to leave it alone, and I'd have to go back, and I'd have to come back to it, and I'm an ongoing work in progress. The work is never done. The work is never done, you know. And you know, I try my best, but I don't have the power, but I know who does. I know who does. And how beautiful it is to be able to wake up in the mornings and hear the birds and see the trees and feel the presence, feel the presence, knowing that I'm safe and protected no matter what. I lost my dad to this disease, and I watched my dad die an alcoholic death. And it was really ugly, you guys. And it took me out there for 8 years. And I wanted to die, and I wanted to kill myself, and I drank to die. And this is what this disease does. It takes you. They say it's the only disease that takes your soul before you're dead, and it does. And I remember when the doctors diagnosed him and told him he's got liver cirrhosis, and I thought he was gonna be okay. It wasn't the alcohol, you see. I thought he'd be all right. Within 72 hours, he picked up a drink after about 14 months. And it probably took 4 weeks. And it took me out there, you know. It took me out there. I'm only here by grace. Every day is a day that I wake up and want to be better than yesterday. I want to be better than the way I was yesterday. I don't do this thing perfectly. I wish I could go back and say, Dad, you don't have to go out like this, because there's a solution. I know the way out. I know the way out. And even in sobriety, I go through dark times, right? I go through dark days and things can be really, really, I can have really tough days. But I just know there's always going to be light, because it's been proven time and time again. And I just know that when I'm on my knees and when I'm in the dark, that's where God comes to meet me. When I'm in despair, and when I earnestly seek with my heart, I love this way of life, and I'm proud to say my name's Maya. I'm an alcoholic. It's such an honor to serve, to do service, and to be part of this beautiful fellowship. It really, really is, and I'm really blessed. I'm grateful to have beautiful, amazing people in my life. I do a lot of service, but I love it. I love it. This is where I get my spark. This is where I get relighted. I need to be here. I pop out and visit the world every now and again, but it's with you guys. This is here I call home. This is home for me. And as much as I love my family and I adore my family, you guys are my family. I love every single person in this room, whether I know you or not. I really do. And I think I'm going to close with this. I heard Mildred say today that God used alcoholics. That alcoholics were used to bring God back into this world, because we are miracles, right? We are living proof of miracles. And our job is to show the world that we are miracles, and to save other alcoholics from suffering from this disease. You know, here's the miracle right here. It's right here in these rooms, and man, I just yeah, I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful to be here, and I love you all, and I think that's all I've got. Thank you so much. God bless you.